everyone. As we come to the end of another year, it's time for one of our favorite traditions here at Elevation. It's a season where we take time to celebrate all that God has done and then pray for what He has next and then join together in giving towards a special year-end expansion offering. This offering has helped our church reach people all over the world and in your backyard with the gospel. We would love for you to be a part of this. You can give it anytime now through the end of the year. Just visit elevationchurch.org and click the banner at the top that says Year-End Offering. Thank you for your continued support of this ministry. And now, let's get into the Word.
I thank you that one thought of you today, one thought can change the way we see ourselves.
When God puts something significant in me, the enemy sends something significant after me.
Find your tambourine and figure out how to praise even in the waiting.
And the proof that I know that God still has something amazing ahead for your life is that you're still here.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to church. I hope that you had a wonderful Christmas. I hope that you were surrounded by the people that you love. I hope that you ate all of the amazing foods that you love because you know calories don't count on Christmas. I hope that you had time to rest and nap and enjoy the peace that this season brings. Now, this is the one Sunday of the year where our entire church is eFam. So I want to see the comments flying right now. Let us know where you are joining from. Maybe say hello to someone else in the chat that's not from your state. Pastor Stephen and I are continually amazed at the people that God has brought together across the world who make up the people of Elevation Church. And it is the honor of a lifetime to get to do ministry with you. Today is evidence that you are finishing the year strong. You're making church a priority, and that is something to celebrate because 2024 has been an immeasurably more year for our church. We have seen some truly incredible blessings. We've reached new communities all around the world. We've continued to be a resource for those in need, and we have seen thousands of lives transformed. The impact of our church and our ability to share the hope of the gospel is greater than Pastor Stephen and I could have ever thought possible, and that is because of you. You give so generously of your time and your gifts, and you keep doing your part, and God continues to move. You know, Jesus says in John 10, He says, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. And as we continue to be the church, we get to experience the fullness of life that God has promised us. Looking back on 2024, my heart is overflowing with gratitude for the ways that we have seen God move. And as we look ahead to 2025, I'm filled with expectation, knowing that even greater things are yet to come. So today, I thought it would be fun to take a moment to reflect on the incredible moments from the past year and then maybe take a peek ahead to all of the amazing things that God has for us in the year to come. And I thought that I would invite some friends to join us. It's going to be a great time, a great conversation, and I'm glad that you're here with us. So let me introduce to you some of my friends. These are all familiar faces, but I just want to give you a formal introduction. This is Chris Brown, who you probably know from Elevation Worship. And then we've got Britt Atkinsola in the middle here, who is our ministries pastor. Pastor Chad Zolo, our online pastor. You all know him. And Pastor Chet Pete, who is our UC University City shout out campus pastor. We've got to talk about worship first because this was an incredible year for Elevation Worship.
It sure was. I can't believe we're almost 20 years in?
Yeah.
We released our 17th worship album, maybe 18th, 19th,
Depending on
if you
how
can see it. Exactly.
That's a long story.
All these years in, almost 2 decades, it's crazy how God allows our ministry to go places that we may physically never show up or set our feet. But the word of God goes there. And a lot of times that's happening through our songs.
Elevation Worship, I feel like there are so many people who have found our church through elevation worship.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So grateful. It was a crazy year when Wind Meets Fire.
Okay,
released.
I have to say, I think When Wind Meets Fire is my favorite elevation worship album.
It's incredible.
It's
People ask me what's my favorite song or what's
Yeah.
my favorite album. The favorite album answer is always what's the most recent one we just did. Of course. So I agree. It's my favorite too. but for good reason.
Though. Favorite song.
See,
It's a no-skip album.
it is.
No, but you gotta have a favorite.
We might get there, but I'll say Sure Been Good.
Yeah, sure been
I
good.
will love
strong. Yeah.
Sure Been Good to
I
the
agree.
day I die.
Yeah,
I was
me
gonna
too.
just ask, are the albums and the songs, are they like your kids? Like, you know, like you.
You can't choose a favorite.
Well, I have a favorite. I'll tell you.
No, favorite kid.
I have a favorite.
You're
I'm not
lying.
gonna say it.
You're lying.
Yeah,
I'm
say
not
it.
gonna say it.
Oh, wait,
I'm not
wait.
gonna say it.
now.
You have a
Are they
favorite
watching?
kid or a favorite
100%.
song?
Both.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it.
No, When Wind Meets Fire, though, the song, it's a rock opera. We got, like, God Is Not Against Me is on there, which was, a sermon?
A sermon.
That turned into a song that
and
also
then
made...
a chapter in a book.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Trifecta.
one of the mindsets. I mean, it wasn't just
Yeah.
a chapter, it was like a section in the
Right,
book.
absolutely. New Thing Coming, which is so fun.
So
also, I mean, what a great song to
good.
end one year, kick off the next.
Yeah, that's so true.
That's right.
So many great songs. I can't believe it. 17th album.
I can't believe it either.
It's incredible. Also, I mean, we got to shout out Rhythm for Goodbye Yesterday.
Yeah.
How good is that song?
It's amazing.
It's so good.
So good.
Also, actually, another perfect song to end one year. And
Yesterday.
That is true. That's true.
I love
ya.
worshiping to that song. It just makes me so happy.
Same.
And you start like shouting, I have decided to follow Jesus.
I know.
I feel like a kid again or
To
something.
be at a youth, I mean, like at a rhythm night, and to hear our youth declaring that.
Yep.
Yep.
But then to see it
know.
on a Sunday morning and Valentine's,
100%,
and I mean, it like resonates with
Middle-aged and
everyone.
up, they're going strong.
It goes crazy.
Also, selfishly, I'll shout out Praise too, because Praise just kept doing it.
Yeah.
We released it
Yeah.
well over a year ago.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not this year, but it just kept reaching more people. So the way God's working through our ministry, how He's using the songs is incredible.
Incredible. I think
Yeah.
we have a clip.
Well, let's show it.
Let's check this
Let's
out.
see.
Sing it, hey, I got a new thing, I got a new thing. What a miracle, what a miracle. Oh my God, you've sure been good to me. You never run out of faithfulness, faithfulness. Whoa, fighting for me, God is not against me. Praise it, sing it to Jesus. This is the moment when wind meets fire. Another stone is rolling in the room right now. You were always on time. Yahweh, we love you. Yahweh, I feel the rush. So get ready for another one, 'cause another one is on the way. Great is your faithfulness. What I call impossible is easy for you. It's gonna come all of a sudden. It's gonna come all of a sudden. It's gonna come all of a sudden.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Amazing.
How many good songs?
So
Love that.
many.
Yeah.
Song after song after song. I just am blown away. Okay, so Chris,
Yep.
one of the things I want to put people on the spot that are on the sofa that I
Okay.
want to know.
All right.
Are there any secrets?
Oh, I love secrets.
2025.
This is what I want to know.
Are there any secrets
us. Tell
that
us.
the people watching today can get from you?
All right. So, let me share a little story.
Okay. I love stories.
May of this year, I got a phone call. I think you happened to be in the car.
Okay.
I got a phone call from your husband, Pastor Stephen, and he says, all these songs that have been sitting on our phones, we've never recorded them, we've never sung them in church, we've never figured out what do we want to do with them. I got the idea. What we need to do is get our friends together, Brandon Lake, Chandler Moore, Leland, Pat, the two of us, and let's just have fun, and let's record these, and let's start a new group, a new a boy band, if you will, but not really a boy band, but a new
man band.
Yeah, 2024, 25 man band. And it's going to be called Sons of Sunday. The secret is
love it.
Sons of Sunday, SOS. So we got together in September and we recorded so many songs in this amazing little chapel.
Wow.
And we banged on pianos and guitars and tambourines, and we cried and we laughed and we lost our voices. And we recorded so many songs, and it's gonna come out in full album form. Brand new album, all new songs, people have not heard, but it's coming. Sons of Sunday. I'll tell you what you need to do. You actually need to go on socials right now and search up Sons of Sunday, because, I mean, we kind of have been leaking.
You're gonna see some,
We've been leaking.
And then you'll know when it's out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And every song is so good. And do we have a little?
I was gonna say,
we have a little teaser? We have a little teaser?
Yeah. All right, so the secret's out.
Okay, secret's out.
Here we go.
Check this out.
When the Holy Ghost gets a hold of you, there's no telling what you're liable to do. No telling what you're liable to do. Might get fired up, you might get free. But if you rock on water, don't pour your water on me. I got the Holy Ghost, and I'm burning up.
Okay.
We need more than that.
I can't wait.
That's all you get right now.
So sometime in 2025.
I'll say sometime very soon.
Okay. And then, of course, Elevation Worship's on tour.
We saw, 16 cities with Elevation Nights this past year. And it was incredible nights of ministry.
Yeah.
And then we're headed right back out in February of this year.
Yeah.
8 more cities in February. Can't wait to see what God does.
I mean, tour's amazing. And the thing that I love about tour is it's not just Elevation Worship. It's like Elevation Church came to your town.
It is.
And
It is.
filled an arena.
Exactly.
And so you get like all your favorite songs, and then you get a word from Pastor Stephen, and you get EFAM, in the, not the lobby, but like whatever it's called, the concourse.
Concourse,
You get to meet Chad, and all of our EFAM gets to come together, and they're just such incredible nights. And we're going back out again. And I'm so excited. We have the dates?
Well,
we got
can show
another
you.
video. We
We
got
have
another
another
video.
video.
All right. Check this out. Here's Elevation Nights.
I can see a cloud, heavy with rain, and it looks like revival. It's headed our way. I can see a cloud, heavy with rain, and it looks like salvation. Headed our way.
It's amazing because this last time we had, I think, over 160,000 people who showed up this year.
Yeah.
And it is crazy. I mean, you were saying it, but to gather in person, a lot of these people are part of our EFAM who watch online. And so to get everybody in a room together is crazy. One of the things I love that we do, though, is when we get to meet with a lot of EFAM people who call Elevation Church their family. Out in the concourse, as you were saying, we have these little stations set up and people stop by. But what Britt gets to do a lot of times, share with you like your little station that you have. It's awesome.
It's so special. My favorite thing that we get to do is we have an area where we get to pray with you. And so you can write a prayer request down. And even to this day, if you've written a request down, we're still praying for you. We have our teams here that pray over you, your family, or whatever it is that you need prayer for. And so you mentioned it, it's a night of ministry, and it goes deeper than just like a room full of people. We love the opportunity to see the individual people and their needs, and then align our faith with you and what you need to see God do in your life.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And we're pouring out as a ministry into people, but I will say how much I feel like I get filled when I get to read testimonies or read the cards that someone wrote a prayer request down, and then months later have in fact heard the testimony how God answered that prayer, or getting to meet people even there. We've done that backstage and gotten to hear personally from them how one of our songs carried them through a sleepless night. And that's just, that's so fueling, and it's like, I have no business being in the position I am, but thank you, Jesus, that we just get to be a part of a ministry like this.
Yeah, and we're not just at our campuses and on tour, but we also do pop-ups. Tell us a little bit about pop-ups.
I mean, pop-ups have been amazing. We've been doing these for a few years now, and it actually started kind of right out of COVID. We were like, well, everybody's watching online now. Can we actually take church to people on Sunday? It's not an event. It's just literally we bring some of the Elevation Worship crew, and we get people from all over the world who say, hey, I'd love to be baptized. I'd love to take that step. And we thought, well, let's bring a baptism tank to them.
Great.
And let's do baptisms.
Let's go.
So this year, we've been able to do 12 pop-ups, and we're all over the United States. We wrapped up this year in Los Angeles. We've seen over 15,000 people join with us at these events, which is nuts. And we've got the opportunity to baptize over 1,500 people.
It's incredible.
It is absolutely incredible. And every stop, it just never ceases to blow our mind. There's people lining up around the building. But what's cool is every place that we go, it's like, it feels like church. It feels like this is family.
It's like one of our campuses.
Yes, and we really try to make it feel that way. From, if you attend a campus, we want you to come and attend one of these and think, I want you to see the banner, and it's like, oh, that's my church.
Yeah, exactly.
They're here.
That's
so
right.
as people are coming in, you're seeing familiar faces, but it's people who are part of this family. And so just the opportunity that we get, I'm always so blown away. Like you said, who are we that we get to travel around and do this? Like to be able to go to a place and bring church like this to where so many of you are.
One of my favorite things that we did in 2024 was my husband released a book.
Yes.
And it was his first book in 8 years.
Awesome.
And the book was called Do the New You.
Yes.
And the book, I mean, besides like releasing it to the world and like all the things that came along with it, I just so loved this book. Like, I'm just continually blown away at how God continues to use our pastor's words. So it could be when he's preaching, it could be through the songs that he's writing, or through the words of a book. And this particular book, he gave us the 6 mindsets and then the chapters within the mindsets. And it was it was just so much fun to get to read that book and release it, and to hear people talking about it, and to hear how it was ministering to all of you. And I don't know, any of you guys.
We do have to thank God for the way that he used your voice, because if we remember,
I remember.
If we remember, Pastor wasn't trying to write the book. And by the power of the Holy Spirit, God used your voice to be able to.
It was special for me because, like, everybody needs moments where you feel like, oh, God does hear my prayers. God does answer prayers. And it was like one of those moments, and we shared the story many times, where, I had just been praying. Like, we'd had many conversations, and we had this one, like, I wouldn't say it was a fight, but it was a little heated conversation.
Intense fellowship.
Intense, And I just felt, like, that's enough. Like when sometimes when you're having a conversation with somebody that you really love, and you're really trying to push them, but then that like you've said enough and it's time to just move on. And so whenever that happens to me, I have said enough to that person, but then I know that a guy can say all my things to God. Right. And so I just kept leaving it with God, and then it just happened, and we got to release the book, and it's so good. If you haven't read Do the New You, you have to get a copy. We're leaving all the links, by the way. Everything that we talk about in the description, if you're looking for a link, it's gonna be right there. So if you want a link to the album, you want a link to Do the New You, it's everywhere books are sold, and it's so incredible. And so then we got to do an eGroup study with Do the New You, and that was such an incredible, so many people in our church are a part of an eGroup. Now, if you're not a part of an eGroup, it doesn't matter where you live. We have eGroups for everyone, every age, every area. We have groups that meet in person, groups that meet virtual, and mostly our groups discuss the sermons. Yes. And what was cool about Do the New You is that it was like everything overlapped. Like we had a song, we had the sermons every week, we had the book to discuss, and then we had eGroups that were discussing all of it, and it was such a great moment.
Fun fact, about 12,000 people in our church, I'd love to know who you are, like went through this study together. So it was also such a special unifying time in our church. But we unpacked these mindsets. I love, if you've been around, maybe you've heard us say this, eGroups make our church, a big church, feel small.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to unpack it and make it personal in your life. And that's what we got to do for these 6 weeks together.
Yeah.
And so we got to take them to another level, really get them in our hearts so that we can really live them out. And so we loved our time together, and it was just really special.
Yeah.
It really was. You led us so well through it too. Thank you
We
for
did videos for that one. And we had
I'm like every
discussions.
single one of us were a part of that.
One of those
That's
videos.
right.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
true.
Yeah, it was a
That's
really
right.
special time together.
Oh, it was awesome. And I love the eGroups of our church because it's a place where I feel like God can take what he's speaking to you when you listen to the sermon, but it's like the roots go deeper when you are able to discuss
true.
it
That's
with
right.
other people.
Yep.
And you hear other people processing what God is speaking to them, and it just solidifies what God is speaking. And so
That's right.
I just think it's so powerful. And you can still be a part of an eGroup at Elevation.
can.
There'll be a link in the description. Okay, other fun things that have gone on. Tell us a little bit about outreach.
Okay, you've said this, Pastor Holly, and it has stuck with me. You said that if eGroups are what make a big church feel small,
Yes.
then outreach is what makes a big church feel big.
Yeah.
And that is so true.
So great.
Outreach is such a special part of our ministry because it really is one of the areas where we get to live out our faith. And I feel like if you've been a part of it, then you know that. You've walked through this all year long. I mean, we do everything from Dream Week, we kick off the year strong with outreach, Love Week, I mean, and then we also like go into like, you guys remember the response that we did with Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton.
What was crazy was like, in my mind, I thought we were just gonna be asking our campuses to show up and bring stuff. But EFAM was like, oh no, you're not doing this without us. And so we created an Amazon wish list. And I don't know if anybody remembers this, but the Amazon guy, we did this video, it made me cry, because the Amazon delivery man was like, we haven't seen this many packages since the week before Christmas last year. And they were all being delivered here. And yet, like, it was so incredible because, you know, we're a big church, and sometimes you need to feel how big it is. And it was like mobilizing an army of people who were like, I'll send something, I'll sort something, I'll deliver something. And it was so
And immediately,
awesome.
like you guys showed up immediately. I mean, we just started getting like packages and people showing up, giving their time. And it was such a powerful time to just be like, this is the church.
Yeah.
Right.
And it made me so proud of our church because I feel like it was a moment where we got to see how all of the strategic systems that we've been building and how all year it was like everything sort of culminated because, you know, we say this all the time, but 12% of every dollar given to Elevation Church goes to our outreach efforts. And so when a disaster happens, we're ready with funds. You don't have to wonder, should I give to this organization? Is this you know, somebody who's being honest with you? Already give to your church, so you know that your church is going to support whatever it is. But then throughout the year, we have events where we're whatever, you know, Love Week or the Dream Weekend where we're packing backpacks or we're making flood kits. And so then whenever disaster happens, we're ready. We emptied out our warehouse.
We did.
And it was just, I was so proud to be a part of Elevation and Elevation Outreach and to be able to represent our church in that moment was really special.
I love how our church shows up in these moments where it's these national disasters. But I think sometimes people don't realize that there's outreach events happening all the time. Like, you know, we've had people going back and forth to Asheville since that weekend. Like, it wasn't just the one time and then we left. I'm proud of the way that our church continues to show up. So these big moments where we have to show up, but then throughout the week, whether it's like meeting with schools or feeding teachers breakfast and things like that. So just the heart of our church showing up, it's happening all the time, all the time. So we get to do both. In the moments that it's desperate and we got to show up, and then when it's just showing up for people on a day-to-day basis, our church does that too.
All right, so God is expanding so many areas of our church. Chet, tell us about some of the really fun things that we have coming in 2025 and some of the things that we accomplished in 2024.
Well, one of the strategies that, we implemented, I guess a few years ago, was that we just really wanted to be focused on having some permanency in the communities that we were in. So we just wanted to focus on what campuses were we setting up and tearing down. And maybe we were at the whim of the school or whether or not we could have church that weekend or do an event. And because of the generous people of our church, we were able to really start to be aggressive at looking for facilities that we would be able to go in, renovate, or buy land to build so that Elevation Church could be permanent in that community. And so
I love it.
at the end of last year, we were able to open up Belmont. And so they just had a full year of ministry. And then Columbia was able to celebrate Christmas in their new building this year.
So amazing.
And so,
awesome.
Taylor and Nikki Scheidel, they had a parking lot party.
I saw it. I saw it.
They planned for 300 people to come just to have a night to be able to worship before they opened up the building. 1,000 people showed up.
That's
Praising God.
insane.
They had 10 salvations that night in the parking lot before we even opened up the building at Columbia.
Wow.
That's
and so,
awesome.
so then coming into 2025, Greenville will be opening up, hopefully summer 2025. Then we have Uptown, who should be opening summer of 2025.
Yeah, we got a really cool location uptown.
Really cool location. When you step out on the foyer, you're able to look up and see the skyline of the city of Charlotte. That's pretty amazing. And then Toronto East. Toronto East was a new campus that we actually launched this year. No, I apologize. It was at the end of last year that we launched Toronto East. God's doing so much in Toronto. Last but not least, Raleigh, North Carolina. We purchased land in Raleigh and have been working hard over really the last year and a half to be able to push through permits and all of those things to get it done. But we're finally able to start breaking ground in Raleigh. But one of the things I wanted to highlight with Raleigh, I got a picture of Isaiah being baptized. This is on the ground where we're going to be building Elevation Raleigh. Here's the beauty. Beauty of this picture is before we break ground, we already had a baptism. And the more that I think about this, I think about the mission of our church, so that people far from God would be raised to life in Christ. And so, yes, we're talking about these buildings. You're seeing some of the renderings and all of that, but what we're really excited about is the ministry that's going to be happening in these walls. I just want to thank all of you who faithfully give at Elevation Church, so that when an opportunity like this opens up, we're able to jump on it.
That's right.
Like we have resource set aside. We can get ahead of projects because of your generosity to be able to jump in and see what God can do through our church.
And I love how when people give, it's this spirit of like, well, this ministry has touched my life so much. And even though I attend a campus, like University City, that is already a permanent location, the generous spirit of, I want other people to experience that too. I want to create a seat somewhere else.
100%.
It's just such a beautiful thing to see when we come together. I mean, it's another way that a big church feels big, because
100%.
when every gift matters, because when we pull all of our gifts together, God is able to do miracles. Before we leave, I have to spend some time talking about some of the amazing sermons that we heard just this year, 2024. Now, I looked last night, I looked at a list of all of Pastor Stephen's sermons just in 24, just the titles, and I was blown away. I was like, how does this man do this? I preached I preached 4 baby sermons.
They were good.
Okay, but this man preached like 35 times, and his titles are brilliant, and they come together, and we had Do the New You, we had Ghostwriter series, we had this series that was towards the end of the year. I don't know if it ever got a name, but it was like God is, now I can't remember all of them.
God will work it in.
God will work it in.
God gave it to me.
Can you do them all?
Don't challenge me now. We do need to have
God's got the hard part.
God's got the hard part.
And then the last one, I'm cheating. I'm looking at my notes. God gave it to me.
God gave it to me.
I mean, those were incredible messages that we ended the year with, but we started the year strong. So I had everybody in this room come with their favorite sermon, and we're just gonna watch a clip and chat about them. Chris. What was your favorite sermon of the year?
All right, so also kind of like picking favorite kids.
Yes,
but
totally.
For the exercise.
Totally.
In August, he preached, had two titles. Me and God, getting back together.
Got back together.
Got back together. And breaking the bondage of wrong belief.
Yeah.
So it's in Judges 6. He's talking about Gideon.
Yep.
Gideon's hiding in a wine press because the nation of Israel has been in captivity for 7 years, and God shows up. Gideon's feeling like a wimp, and God, the first thing God says to him is, "Hey, mighty warrior."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's feeling a certain kind of way. God doesn't speak to how he's feeling. God speaks to how God sees him.
That's right.
And then this is really where Pastor spent most of the time. Then the first thing God asked him to act on is go and tear down the altar of Baal, of your father.
Yeah.
And so the question that Pastor kind of kept coming back to was, what wrong beliefs do we need to break up with in order to move forward and see ourselves as God does?
Mm-hmm. So good.
So, I mean, kind of a perfect way as we step into a new year. Like, what old mindsets have no business going into 2025 with us?
I think we got a clip. Let's check this out.
I see some people that I preach to, you're trying to build your life back. You're trying to build your hope back. You're trying to build your business back. You're trying to build your family back. You're trying to build your sobriety back. You had 81 days and now you're back on day 2, but that's okay, because as you are trying to build it back, God wants to show you something that will make sure that this time you build it, what you build will stand the test of the battle that you face. Because if all I do is build an altar while Pastor Stephen is preaching, and if all I do is say, okay, I'm gonna stack some new habits and I'm gonna do some new things, and okay, the Lord is peace. I found out something, that you cannot have God's peace and keep it without having God's priorities. God's peace without God's priorities is always temporary. The kind of peace that you've been seeking in your life, craving in your life, crying out for in your life, that kind of peace, that permanent peace, that storm-speaking peace, that lay your head on the pillow of a lion's mane kind of peace, that I'm in a fire but I see the fourth man kind of peace. The kind of peace that can know that greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world, and there's more with us than with them, and I don't have to be afraid about any of it. That kind of peace only comes from priorities.
Yeah. How good.
That was
Look,
good.
I wrote this in my notes. I thought this was so powerful. No breakup, no breakthrough.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's like, until you break up with those habits, with those ways of thinking, with those, like you said, those mindsets that you've believed about yourself that aren't true, until you break up with those things, you don't get to have breakthrough. And we all want breakthrough.
That's right.
But a lot of times we don't want to do the work that it
That's
takes to get that breakthrough. And it was just such a convicting message.
That whole idea of God's peace is connected to God's priorities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's enough to go into the new year and just say, okay, how am I going to calendar my year, calendar my day? Right. Is this aligned with what God has for me?
Right.
And not be mad when you don't experience the peace of God, when you haven't taken time to be able to prioritize your life effectively.
It's like the daily thing though, because a lot of times I think that it's like a moment where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go destroy that altar and then that's done. Like, okay, and it's not really that way.
No.
It's like a daily thing every day. God's calling you a mighty warrior. It's
Lay
like,
it down.
am I? Okay, I'll do it today.
Yeah.
So that's
true.
the thing that I feel like I miss a lot. It's like, it's not a moment, it's a daily decision to believe that, oh, no, okay, God, I'm a mighty warrior. That's tough.
The thing that you need to make real practical, right? Like, you got to write some of these down. You mentioned looking back at our notes. That's a great sermon to go back, look at your notes. You got to write it down. You need to schedule it. You mentioned that. Like, what does your calendar look like?
100%.
Like, are you scheduling according to the priorities that you feel like God's put in front of you?
Yeah. Right.
And so making it as practical as you can to be as successful as we can at this.
All right, Britt.
Okay.
You like the Easter sermon.
I love the Easter sermon.
I love the Easter sermon.
The Easter sermon was so good. And I mean, all of Pastor Stephen's sermons speak to you this one was the one of the year that I feel like I felt the most seen. Because maybe it's just because of how I'm wired. I don't know.
Isn't it crazy though how he can do that? How like he'll just say something and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Well, for me, I'll actually think, I'm like, he better stop. Because I really feel like he's talking about me. But he's not. That's just the Holy Spirit just speaks through him and it just like cuts so straight to you. And sorry, interrupted you.
No, this is great. This sermon was called Something in Between. Yeah. Maybe you remember it. And he preached from Matthew 28. And so this was our Easter sermon. So he preached about the Marys going to the tomb. Yeah. And he really camped in a verse in, scripture. And, I don't know, like maybe you have a tradition where like, I don't know if you read the Easter story, like my in-laws, they read the Easter story, the Christmas story every holiday. And I'm like, I have read this story.
I know it.
So many times. And it was such a beautiful revelation that he pulled because he specifically camped out whenever he talked about they were leaving the tomb and they left with fear, yet joy.
Yeah.
Right.
We got a clip.
Yeah, let's
watch it.
And I love this phrase because this is how I feel. Afraid, yet filled with joy. This is not a translation error, by the way. Because most of us think like, you're either gonna be afraid or filled with joy. I had somebody ask me the other day, I was going to do something that was a big deal, and they said, are you looking forward to it or are you dreading it? And I was like, are those the only two options? Because I'm not exactly looking forward to it. I'm not exactly dreading it. I'm something. And it can change from moment to moment. I'm like really grateful for this life God has given me and this influence that he gave me. And then sometimes that anticipation feels like anxiety. And sometimes my anxiety feels like anticipation. And sometimes, listen to this, the difference between anticipation and anxiety is the way you label it. I stand before you today excited and afraid. I stand before you today a sinner and a saint. I stand before you today a flawed man and a child of God. And I'm never all of both. I'm something in between.
Okay, now I know you guys see why I felt so seen.
So good.
Because I feel like that is literally me. Like our faith is just a constant journey.
Yeah. Right.
And it gets so frustrating when you're like, you see where it is that God would have you be. You're like, okay, Lord, you say, love my enemies, to pray for them, to be kind and to be generous. And then somebody says the wrong thing on the wrong day. And you're like, I was working so hard on this. And I'm caught slipping. But like, no, sometimes it is both. Like, yes, like I want to be like holy and I want to be closer to God in this moment. But then also like, I understand that like God made me where like, I am a big feeler and I'm both. I'm somewhere in between. And so I feel like for me, it was really the permission slip that I have permission to keep growing. Like, and it's not, I'm not a failure. Because I'm somewhere in between and I haven't yet arrived and I may never arrive until I get to heaven. And that's okay as long as I'm on my constant journey to growth.
You know what I loved from the sermon when he said, even when it's not all good, it's all God. And man, that's real faith to trust. That even when it's not all good, whatever you're going through in your life, to be able to say, I know this is all God. And I know that it's not good now, but it's gonna be good.
That's right.
And so powerful.
He also said it similar like this. He said, we're all something in between, so we can all find ourselves in this. He said, and we need Jesus in between. And sometimes that's the part that I think is so easy for us to forget.
Okay, let's get to mine. I wanted to go all the way back to the beginning of the year when Pastor Stephen got out his guitar. So we're worship pastor Stephen and preacher pastor Stephen. And this sermon, it just really touched me. So check this out.
It's amazing when you're in tune with the grace of God. It's amazing when you're in tune with the voice of God. When I'm in tune with you, Lord, I don't have to fight so much. When I'm in tune with you, Lord, I don't have to manipulate so much. When I'm in tune with you, Lord, I don't have to defend myself. You fight my battles. When I'm in tune with you, Lord, somebody say, Lord, I want to be in tune with you. When I'm in tune with you, Lord, my problems look small. When I'm in tune with you, Lord, it feels like all things are possible. When I'm in tune with you, Lord, I can scale a wall. When I'm in tune with you, Lord, the giant looks like an opportunity, not a problem. When I'm in tune with you, Lord, I'm able to laugh at what used to make me cry. When I'm in tune with you, Lord, I'm able to cry and know that tears don't last always, but joy comes in the morning when I'm in tune with you, Lord. It's a beautiful thing to be in tune.
This sermon was just it was just one of those beautiful, comforting sermons. He said, I just thought this, sometimes, don't you feel like sometimes Pastor Stephen will say something that sort of like sets you free from a certain way that you were feeling? And he said, from the same heart comes your greatest fears and your greatest faith. And so then he said, therefore your heart is a harp and it has to be tuned to truth. And the whole sermon, he's talking about tuning your heart to truth and being able to hear what God is saying to you. And so then, like, as the sermon progressed though, like first I got a hug and then I got a little, what did we say earlier? A little push because he said tuning feels like tension. And it's like when you think about tuning your heart to God's word and to God's praise, you think it's going to be like warm and fuzzy feeling, but actually it feels like tension because there's something that happens that draws you closer to God. And then I just again, he gave us some homework and the homework was so good. He said, pause, tune, praise, repeat. And so good. It's like, oh, excellent. Okay. So Monday morning, when I feel the tension, pause, tune, praise, repeat over and over and over again. And it was just something so practical that really just gave me the momentum for the year that I just really needed.
Yeah, so good. He said, this is how I wrote it down. God's not changing his standard to fit you. He's gonna bring you up. And that was so powerful. Sometimes, I don't know if it's just a weird thing I do, but sometimes after I hear a sermon, I'll write down in my notes like how I'm feeling or like what it's speaking to me. And I literally wrote to myself, this is really funny. Reading it back, I was like, I know it couldn't have just been me. This had to be thousands. I was like, but something shifted in me during that sermon. I've got some tuning to do. And so it was one of those types of messages. And so I'm so glad that you picked that one because it's really great to just sit here and even revisit it going into the new year about like, we've got some tuning to do going into 2025.
And he talked about how setting our heart is a decision.
That's right.
It's not default. Which, by the way, I mean, one of the greatest illustrations. Truly. But like if also like heading into this next year, we're all wanting to set goals. Those goals are going to be accomplished or met through decisions.
That's right.
Daily decisions. Or if we want our minds stayed on Christ, if we want our hearts to remain filled with peace, that comes through decision, not just because we decided one day and thought that was going to be the default that lasted us for the next month.
He said that guitar players tune in between songs.
You
know what I mean? It's this rhythm of going, hold on. It's constantly tuning. I have to constantly tune. One part of the message, he was talking about being tuned to tradition. And that's the hardest to change.
Sure.
how do you tune to truth when this is what my mom did, this is what my granddad did, this is, and I'm tuned to something that I've seen over and over and over again. But to pause and ask yourself the question, is it the truth? Is this what God says? And if not, that tension, you know what I mean? Being able to commit to that, I think is beautiful.
This has been so much fun talking with all of you. And I want to encourage you, if you're watching right now and maybe you have some downtime, the week between Christmas and New Year's is like the weirdest week of the year. And it's like time moves so slow. And so I just want to encourage you to go back, find your favorite sermon of the year, watch it again.
That's right.
Find your notes, read through them, and rediscover some of the things that God spoke to you in 2024 as you look forward to 2025. We've got the links to all of these sermons, our favorites of the year, but you've got yours too. And they're all there available for you right here on the Elevation Church YouTube. And so I just want to encourage you to take some time to go back and think about the things that God has spoken to you this year and the things that God has done for you this year, because it has been an incredible year. And God has sure been good to us.
That's right.
And as you've seen today, there is so much more to be grateful for and so much to look forward to. And next year will actually be in our 20th year of ministry. I cannot believe it. So in February, we will celebrate our year 19, but that launches our 20th year of ministry. And we're making plans to celebrate big all year long. So more to come on that, but make sure you stay tuned to Elevation because 2025 is gonna be incredible. So as we close out this year, I just want to take a moment to thank all of you who have stepped out in faith to be a part of our year-end offering. We didn't get to talk about that together, but your generosity is a powerful testimony of the impact that we're making together, and it's helping to fuel the next season of our church. So thank you for your partnership and what God is doing through this ministry. As you've seen today, this is solid ground to put down roots in and stay planted. This is a place where you can experience community. It's a place where you can hear from God every single week. It's a place where you can serve, and it's a place where you are truly making a difference. And if you hadn't had a chance yet, there's still time to be a part of our year-end offering. All you have to do is go to elevationchurch.org and click the Give Now button by December 31st, which is just 2 days away. So thank you for being with us today, and let's step into this new year with our hearts full of faith and expectation. Let's keep moving forward and trusting God every step of the way. I cannot wait to see what's ahead for us, and I just want you to know that Pastor Stephen and I, we love you, we're praying for you, and we are so grateful to get to do ministry with each and every one of you. I hope you have a blessed and happy new year, and I will see you next Sunday.
Hey, thank you for watching the Elevation Church YouTube. I want you to subscribe. That way you can know when we go live and post new content. Make sure to leave me a comment. Let me know what spoke to you today, where you're watching from, and what we can pray for you about. And if you'd like to support the ministry financially, you can click the Give button now and help us continue reaching people around the world for Jesus Christ. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.